Okay, so I understand that some of you have been having trouble with tabbing things. So I'm putting this little doohickey thing together using a horrible little software program called Camtasia to maybe help you out a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is basically insert some tabbing here. Okay, we're going to start with hopefully you can see all this stuff moving on the screen, the salesperson question. You notice that I've gone in, everything else is, I believe, 10-point universal light, and I've made this 7-point universal light. Okay, so what we're going to do is set up some tabs for the first question. And you can see that there's excellent, very good, good, fair, poor, not applicable, and the stuff underneath it, the ABC options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this whole thing. It doesn't matter if we highlight one or, well, let's highlight one. What the hell? Okay, so I'm going to hit Command-Shift-T for the tab palette. Now you'll see there's no existing tabs. The interesting thing is the default is 1/2 inch for each tab. So if you go in without setting any tabs and hit a tab thing, it'll go over 1/2 inch. Okay, so we want to control this. We want to set up the tabs ourselves. So I'm going to set up the first tab at 18 picas. Okay, I'm working in picas. I'm sorry if you're not. Next one we're going to do is I'm just going to click a tab in there, and I want it to be at 22 picas. I want it to move over 4 picas. So instead of going in and trying to make it look like it's, just adjusting it by hand, I'm actually going to go in and highlight and type in 22p, and you'll see that this tab is highlighted. When I hit return, it moves that tab over to 22p. So we can be really precise with tabbing. Also, I want to repeat that tab over and over again. So what I'm going to do is come down to this little box at the end of the tabbing bar, and I'm just going to hit repeat tab. And you'll see it takes that 4 pica increment and repeats it across. And if I go back here and in before excellent, I put a tab, you can see that the tab ranges across the whole thing. Okay. Now what I want to do is I actually have to put in those little boxes for people to check off. And when I say check off, I don't mean either Anton Chekhov, the Swedish playwright, or the character on the Star Wars movie thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put a tab in. Then I'm going to go to my type palette and pull down my glyphs choice thingy bar here. You can see that I'm choosing right now universe, and I want a dingbat in there. Well, you can see that there's actually a dingbat here because I've used it before. So I'm going to click in here, Zaf, and you can see Zaf dingbats comes up. So if I hit enter, it will change the palette to Zaf dingbats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this lovely little circular thing. Or, you know what? Doggone it, let's get some dimensionality to it, and let's choose a shaded box. So I'm going to double click on this glyph, and you'll see that that appears in the document itself. I'm going to close this. I'm going to make the world and it go away. Pardon me. And I'm going to copy this. Actually, I'm going to copy the tab in front of it and the glyph. So I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste. Oh, I just copied wrong, so sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just copying that, and I'm pasting. And you can see that little box is lining up with everything else. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight this just before the return. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to paste it in there. Okay. So you can see that all these boxes are lined up. They're checkable. Maybe we want a little bit more leading in here. Okay, let's increase it to say like 16 or 18. Okay, so you can see that those changes that we've made to one are applicable to all of them. Now let's say that we want to put a leader or a ... thing up to the question so the little people don't get confused. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to select this tab that we've set at 18 picas, and we're going to add a leader into it. Not a leader in terms of volume of measure, but a leader in terms of leading from one side to the other. I'm glad you guys can't see me because I really look bad. You would be shocked at how bad I look. I look sick in my eyes. So I'm going to put a space and a period in there, and then I'm going to hit return. And you can see that the leader appears miraculously there. Now, if we were to take that space out, I think you'll see it becomes pretty visually heavy. So if I click off this, and if I turn off my invisibles, you can see that's a pretty heavy leader in there. So if I go back in, highlight that, put the leader and put a space before it, you can see it becomes a little lighter and easier to read. Okay, so that's the first part of tabbing. Actually, what the other thing I should do, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go in and highlight this all again, and I'm gonna set the first tab so these are tabbed over properly. Okay. Now we all know that the tabs are the square of the typeface, or the same size as the typeface, and since I'm using 10-point type, I'm going to put in a 10-point tab. And what I'm going to do is I'll turn invisibles back on. You can see that these are all spaces rather than tabs. I'm going to hit a tab there. I'm going to hit another tab here to line this back up again because we added a tab there. Then I'm going to do this, delete that, put that in, and put a tab in here. The other thing I could do, because it's not really necessary, is I could just take that stupid little period out there, because what does that mean? Really nothing. Okay? So there we are, just combining two different typefaces, and we have our tab set up. How's that? So you guys can rock on. Now I've just got to figure out how to turn this stupid thing off.